Hello class and welcome back to Raid School. Today we're talking about the Pleasure Gardens encounter in the Leviathan Raid. The goal of this encounter is to have 4 guardians sneak around the garden while holding a relic. Get close to flowers that spawn at certain locations, while the other 2 guardians called crystal bearers laser the flower with sunlight. The flower will then explode and pollinate the relics with spores. All this is done while avoiding dogs that patrol the area in a set pattern. If we are seen by a dog or time expires, we will transition to a DPS phase, where our damage is increased depending on how many spores we obtained. DPS phase consists of the dogs going into one of the flower spawn locations and howling. You have about 30 seconds to deal as much damage as possible. If you cannot kill the dogs in the DPS window, you'll have to reset and perform another cycle. Once all the dogs have been killed, the encounter is complete. The mechanics of this fight are pretty simple, but knowing the environment well are key to executing them, so let's go over that. First, you'll notice the gigantic golden statue at the front of the room. The structure that the statue is standing on is called the safe room, and we'll talk about that more later. If you jump up onto the safe room and turn around, you are now overlooking the garden. We'll split the garden up into left and right sides. Each side will have 4 flower spawns, 3 along the walls and 1 towards the inside of the garden. We'll identify the spawn locations along the walls with L for left and R for right, and then 1, 2, or 3 starting from the safe room. The inside locations are trees for left and rocks for right. Here's the approximate flower locations on the left side. And here they are for the right. Another thing you should know about is the kill wall or pit in front of the safe room. It's claimed to many warlock lives trying to jump up to safety. Although obvious, I'll also point out the crystals and beams of light coming down from the ceiling. Standing in those beams of light while holding the crystal will turn it into a solar-powered death ray that burns through enemies and causes the flowers to explode from too much photosynthesis. To begin this encounter, have the 2 crystal bearers pick up their crystals. This will then open up the top hatch of the safe room and allow the other 4 guardians to grab the relics called royal pollen and get ready to go towards the first flower. The crystal bearers will then call out what location has spawned a flower. There will only be 1 on each side at a time. The 4 guardians on the ground will carry their relics towards the flower, avoiding detection from the dogs. Once in range of the flower, it will begin a bloom animation and can be shot by a crystal bearer to release its spores. There is a limited window of time the flower will stay like this before it despawns, so it's important that the group on the ground stay together. If all 4 guardians were in range and the flower was shot, you will see a stack of 12 on your buff in the bottom left hand corner of your screen. The guardians on the ground will then navigate to their next flower location, while the crystal bearers should direct their attention to the balcony doors along the walls. No matter what side the flower was shot on, both sides will get an ad from one of their doors. There are 2 doors on the left and 3 on the right. After the ad is killed, the crystal bearers should get in position to shoot their next flower, if not already. After both flowers have been blown up, another 2 will spawn, still 1 on each side. Eventually, one of 2 things will happen. A guardian will be spotted by a dog, or time will expire. Once this happens, guardians should go to a location where a dog is howling and start DPSing. These locations are L1, L3, and trees on the left side, and R1, R2, and R3 on the right side. It's best to just assign these before you begin. If you're able to kill all your dogs in one cycle, congratulations, you just finished the encounter. However, if you can't kill them all in one go, then you don't want to kill any at all. Killing 1 or more dogs and leaving others alive will reduce the amount of time you have on your next go. So it's best that you just edge the health of your dog so it's almost dead the next time you get to DPS phase. In order to reach another DPS phase, all the guardians should go back to the safe room, get inside and wait for the doors to close. Once the dogs have finished howling, the doors will open again and you can start all over. Keep in mind, the dogs will only howl for about 30 seconds. Using shotguns, pulse grenades, merciless, or the disgusting tractor cannon scatter grenade combo should make short work of the dogs as long as you have at least 24 stacks. To wrap up, let's talk about the flower spawning patterns and how to avoid dogs. Unfortunately, I can't teach you every situation in this video, but I'm going to show you how to get 24 stacks guaranteed. The first pair of flowers spawn is always going to be one of two patterns. They will be either L1 and R2 or R1 and L2. Here are my routes for the two patterns. If the flowers are at L1 and R2, the guardians on the ground should quickly grab their spores and exit out the left door. Go straight to the flower, blow it up, and go straight back to the safe room. If it's done quickly, the dog will still be behind the pillar and will not see you before getting back to the room. Next, go through the safe room and out the right door. Turn left and go around the left side of rocks. Stop by this pillar on the back side of rocks and wait for the dog to your right to come across, turn around, and pass by so that you are behind his frontal 180 degrees of vision. You can then start heading towards the flower. I like to do an angled path to the left, making sure I'm behind the dog just to be safe, and then move towards the flower. If you are really fast on L1 of this pattern, you can sprint the whole way from L1 through the safe room and make it to R2 without waiting. If the flowers are R1 and L2, start with R1 by exiting out the right door of the safe room. You can either wait at the left side of the door or move up to the next pillar like this. Be sure to not peek out too far on the right side or the dog will see you. Once the dog has made his turn and you are behind his frontal field of vision, you can move in. This time, instead of returning through the safe room, you'll go through the middle of the map and into trees. Here you will wait until the dog on the left gets to the end of his path, turns around, and once he's cleared the tree on your left, you can start moving. Make sure not to spend too much time here, as there's another dog patrolling towards the flower from another side. After the second flower has been shot, there will be two new spawns, one on each side, but random this time. This is why I like to do the L2 and R2 flowers last, because you are in a neutral position to react to the next flower spawn. These routes should leave you with plenty of time to get a third flower, and therefore 36 stacks, which is more than enough to one cycle this encounter as long as you're using smart loadouts. And that wraps up our class on the Pleasure Gardens encounter in the Leviathan Raid. If you'd like to register for more classes, please make sure to like and subscribe below, and don't forget to check out my Twitch channel where you can join in on raids and more. Thanks for watching.